So the theme of this talk is basically the dummy's guide to Cohere's API, like getting started. So let me just give you like a background of what happened to me yesterday before we start. Yesterday was actually my first time interacting with Cohere's API, and I was like, let's assume this is my first time using it. What are the challenges and what are the, let's assume I'm supposed to build like an MVP, like under 2 hours, which is exactly what I did. Like, how many products can I build? How many people can I convince, right? So that was just like the thought process behind it. And after the talk yesterday, Teju reached out to me that, you know what, maybe we should have like a proper session on it. So this is like a dummy's guide. This has nothing to do with the, of course, it has everything to do with the hackathon for folks that have not started interacting with the Cohere's API, but then just for beginners, people that have not done anything yet. So I'm going to walk you through the playground, as well as I'm going to walk you through the collab, right? So let's get started. So first thing first, for you to use Cohere's API, there are like a couple of different things. There are a couple of different ways to go around it. So one way is to go around it using the playground, which is something, let me just switch to the playground. One way is to actually use the Cohere playground, right? Another way is actually interact with it using the SDK, maybe the Python SDK, the Golang SDK. I think they have a Node SDK, and also you can interact with it using the CLI too. So there are different options out there. So for the playground, you don't need anything. Just see it like as a sandbox where you do whatever you want to do. And if you're comfortable, you can pull the code and push it to a Jupyter notebook, or you push it to a Visual Studio code, right? So first thing first, let's just use the playground. So when you click on the playground, it takes you to another interface, right? So mind you, the point of using Cohere API is that it allows you to build natural language process products, be it sentimental analysis, be it generating text, be it performing text summarization. Yeah, a couple of interesting products you can actually build with Cohere API. So this is an instance, right? What do we want to do here? We want to generate a body paragraph, right? We can do a couple of other stuff. We can generate product description. We can generate blog post outline. We can do a lot of stuff. But in this particular case, what we want to do is that we want to generate a body paragraph, right? And the body paragraph should be about Spotify is a great case study. And the title of the post should be called Tips from a Successful Companies. So it's simple. You just come in here, you click, then just give it a while. A lot of stuff is happening in the background. Then it generates the text. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay. It's not my internet. Okay. While we're on that, let me just show you the one I've already generated. This is the one I generated today, right? So in this case, for this one, I actually said, you know what? Give me a body paragraph, right? It should be about my promotion to the head of HR in my company. The title of the blog post should be my 2023 promotion. That should be the title. And this was exactly what was generated. You can see here, you can see, let me just zoom in a bit. Control plus, yeah. So you can see as the new as the new head of HR in my company, I'm responsible for leading and developing HR function and operations. This includes overseeing blah, 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 blah. So at the end of the day, if you go through this stuff, it's more or less like saying that I'm overall excited to take on this new challenge to help lead my company's HR function into the future. So this is what was generated, right, using the playground. So let's just tweak this stuff, right? Let's just assume that we don't want to do head of HR. Let's say we want to do head of ML, right? And let's modify my company to Cohere, right? And let's run it. Okay, so while we are waiting for this output, so this is like one very important, this is like one way of interacting with the API. We can interact with it using the playground, right? Then one very interesting thing about using the playground is that you can also generate code. You can actually view the code that is running in the background, right? So this is the code that is running in the background. This is using the Node SDK, right? This is using using Python SDK. This is using Go. Then you have the CLI and you have the crawl. So these are like different things to look at when interacting with the API, right? So I'll get back with this. I hope this has nothing to do with my this has nothing to do with my number. This has nothing to do with the number of requests, because I made a couple of requests yesterday. Let's just hope this has nothing to do with the request. But this is just one way to go around it. So let's go back to the slide. So going back to what I said earlier, there are different things to do with this. One very important thing you can do is you can generate posts, which is what I did earlier, right? And when you are generating posts, you can provide like a prompt or text input, such as write a blog post or write a paragraph, a body paragraph, saying something about promotion in 2023. And also, we did also mention that the title of the post should be called my 2023 promotion, right? So looking at that, this is going to take in inputs, text inputs, interact with the large language model, and it's going to give you something. Also, you can go the route of sending in text, generating embedding. So it boils down to what exactly you want to do with this. For some folks, they are comfortable with using the embeddings, right? I'm going to also do an example of how to generate embeddings. While for some folks, they are strictly interested in getting the text outputs, right? Then other things you can even do with it is you can do language detection. You can do like, this is like a very interesting use case. You can do like a language detection. Then it's going to tell you that, okay, this language is actually for, this is English, this is German, this is Spanish, and it does, they all have like different applications. You can use that for chats, you can use that for email, you can use that for different stuff. So let me do a demo on that. So let's start with the content generation part, right? This is the content generation part. But before we get started, let me just tell you the requirements. So for this collab session, what we mainly need is strictly the Cohere API. what we need is Cohere SDK. And NumPy, I'm going to use NumPy to save the embeddings that has been generated, right? So these are like the two main things that we need for this example, right? So going back to what we did earlier, we did generation of content using the Cohere API. So it's simple. First thing first, you import Cohere. Then I have my Cohere key somewhere, which is in my config file, right? Then provide the key. Then other things you can do is, okay, this is for generation of content. Remember, we gave the model a prompt, which is write a body paragraph about my promotion to head of HR in my company, right? And the title of the post is actually my 2023 promotion. That's basically what it is. So let's run this. CD tested, generate content. No, but let me look into my API keys. Let me actually look into my API. This is pretty new to me. Let me actually see if I can generate a new API key. Maybe I have exhausted my API dealings. It's
Hey, Joe.
yeah, I can hear you.
So I just
Is it possible for you to provide your and generate another API key for me, or can you just send me yours?
so I just want you to know that this is being live streamed. So if you want to
Okay.
generate, you don't,
Okay.
or you just did it.
Okay,
Okay, I hope
then.
you delete it after the tutorial.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm definitely going to do that. Okay. This is interesting. All right, let's see. Okay. Oh, all right. So that has to do with the API keys, right? So to generate content, let's go back to this same stuff. So for this case, same stuff. What I just wanted to do is, okay, I'm going to prompt the model. This is my promotion to the head of HR in my company, blah, blah, blah. Then this was what was generated. Okay. While we are waiting for this, I don't know what's happening, but let's just continue while we're waiting for that. So that's just like a very simple way of generating content, right? So another thing another demo I wanted to illustrate is you can also change the prompt, right? Like for this case, I changed the prompt so for this case, I just changed the prompt to my promotion to the head of ML in Cohere and 2024 promotion. So this is just another prompt that you can pass in. And there's something you need to take note of. There are different parameters you can actually adjust, right? You can adjust the temperature, you can adjust the maximum token. But one very important thing that you should take note of is the temperature. So the temperature is like the degree of randomness within the model. So if the temperature is 0, what you're saying is that you want the model to be deterministic. You don't want any element of creativity, right? But if you should increase the temperature to something like 0.5 or 0.9, you are giving it more randomness, more creativity, right? You're introducing an element of creativity. So these are things that you should take note of when interacting with the API. So this is actually proposed generation. And then for language detection, right? This is, let me just show you an example of language detection. This is language detection. You know what? Is it possible for you to share? Let me stop sharing. Let me stop sharing my screen. Is it possible for you to share? I really want to demo this stuff. Is it possible for you to share API?
Hello, I cannot hear you. Can you say that again?
Is it possible for you to send me another API? I don't know. Can you share yours with me?
Okay, okay, I'll generate one just now and send it to you while you keep.
Okay. All right. So let's just continue. So going forward, you can do language detection. So let me just show you an instance of the language detection. So for the language detection, what I basically did was that I provided an input, right? Text, good morning. This is good morning in Spanish. This is good morning in Japanese. This is good morning in Afrikaner, and this is good morning in Dutch, right? Then after doing that, what you observe is that it's going to tell you, oh, this is Spanish, text detected is Spanish, text detected is English, text detected here is Spanish, text detected here is like Japanese. So these are like simple things you can do with the model. So that takes me to the next one. So recently we had some of our fellow countrymen coming back to Nigeria from Sudan, right? And this is just like a tweet that tells you what is happening. Okay, they're evacuating them from Sudan, they're bringing them down to Nigeria here, right? So I wanted to summarize this text. I wanted to see how the model is going to respond. Let's assume that, okay, I provide this input, what would the model do? So this is just like a text summarization. This product is actually still in its beta phase, but apparently it works well. So the idea is that you're going to provide the text input, sequence of text, right? After providing the sequence of text, it interacts with the large language model, it summarizes it. So this is what was, this is the output of the model. As you can see that the first batch of Nigeria who were evacuated from
I George.
Hello?
Sorry to interrupt you. Yes, I can hear you, but the thing that I'm seeing right now is the language detection.py. Is that what you're still sharing? Because you're talking about text summarization, Sudan. I cannot see anything like that.
Can you still see my screen?
Oh, now we can see it. Now it's visible. Plus,
Okay.
I also DM you the API key.
All right. So this is going back to what I said earlier. This is a tweet from the Punch newspaper. So the point of doing this is to summarize this tweet. Like I actually wanted to like summarize this tweet to see what will happen. So this was the response I actually got from the tweets, right? So this is the first batch of Nigeria who were evacuated in the war from Sudan, arrived in the country late Wednesday. As you can see, this is like a summary of what was provided earlier, right? But then one thing about this is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with hallucination of large language model, right? This large language model can actually hallucinate. It actually can hallucinate, right? So I provided the same text. I changed some parameters. I'm going to show you some of the parameters I actually did change, right? And what you observe is that it started generating, I don't want to say it's gibberish. It's not gibberish, it makes sense, but it's not the truth. So an instance is that after saying everything here, he said, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyema, the Minister of State Affairs and Foreign Affairs, Dada, these people are not in this picture. I don't know how we got to know about that. So for me, this is an element of hallucination. Another thing I also did observe is he did mention that the commission said the evacuees were expected to be received by the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Sanwo-Olu was not mentioned in this text. So these are things that you need to look out for. So this thing boils down to, how do you want the model to respond? Do you want a deterministic outcome, or do you want a should I say a stochastic outcome, right? So mind you, when you're talking about stochastic outcome, we simply means we want more creativity. So these are things we need to actually look out for. So going forward, let me just show you what that looks like, right? Let me just show you what that looks like. That has to do with customer summarizer. So this is the text that we want to summarize. So this is the Sudan text, right? This is the tweet that I pulled from Punch newspaper. So these are the parameters you need to be careful about. So what kind of model do we want? We want to summarize X large, right? What is the length of the model? What's the length of our text? We want medium. The extractiveness, we want medium. So when you change the extractiveness to high, that is when you get that hallucination. But in my own case, I left it as medium, and I also changed the value to high. So when I changed it to high, I got the elucidated value. So let's see. Price. Okay, this is summarize. This is with medium extractiveness. So let's change this to high. Okay, let's change this to long, the length to long. So if you change the length, okay, this is exactly what I'm saying. So if you change the length to long, this is what you are going to get. So mind you, you might have hallucinated value, but for this instance, I think everything is fine here. But in the tweet, we never mentioned the Immigration Service. He never mentioned the National Agency for Prohibition and Trafficking in Person. So these are things that you need to look out for, right? But this boils down to what kind of application do you want to use it for? But this is just like an instance of what you can do with the large language model. So going forward, let me just go back. Let's see whether we can demo the language detection. Let's demo the language detection. So this is the language detection we talked about earlier. Language detection. So this is it. So the first word is English. The second word is Spanish. The third one is Japanese. Then fourth one is Afrikaner. The fifth one is Dutch. So what I actually got to realize yesterday when I prepared this this script, I realized that there's actually a relationship between the Afrikaner and the Dutch, and it makes sense because Afrikaner is the language is actually from Dutch. So these are things that you need to actually look out for when you're working with the API. But so far, so good. I was able to do like a couple of interesting stuff with it. So let's move forward to the next application. So let me talk about generation of embeddings. So I think I did mention that you can provide text and you will get embeddings, which are just numerical representation of text. So let me demo that. So to do that, all you need to do is to use the same. You can see there's consistency in the API. So in this case, you're going to say co.embed, all right? What text do we want to embed? What text do we want to get the embedding? I want to get text like, I like football, I like computer science and AI, I studied political science. So let's see this embedding. Let's get this embedding. So to do this, it's clear. So these are the embeddings. These are the embeddings for, I like football, I like computer science and AI, I studied political science. So let's get the shape. Let's just do some kind of fancy stuff with it. So this is the shape. It's 3 by 4,096. Also, you can save the embeddings. Let's assume we want to save the embeddings using NumPy. So this is, you can save the embeddings. So if you should refresh, you'll see that we have co-embeddings.mpy. So these are like things you can do with the API. You can do a couple of interesting stuff. So let's assume you want to build a product that has to do with using these embeddings. These are things that you can do. You can put the embeddings, save it, and build some interesting stuff with it. So the next thing I want to also talk about is, I think we've talked about summarizer, training of model. So initially, I thought that what you can just do here is, do inference, like make inference, send your inputs to the model, then do inference. I got to realize that you can actually train models, right? You can actually train models by providing the model with your data. So you can just have like an instance whereby we provide the model with examples, right? And also we're going to provide the model with test cases. So in this instance, we are going to train 2 models, customer support, and we will also perform sentimental analysis. So for the customer support, we are going to provide, I'm going to walk you guys through the process. But the idea here is that you're going to provide example for the large language model. You send the example to the large language model. It does training, which is quite fast. Then it gives you feedback. So we're going to demo that. So what are the use cases for this? You can use this for social media monitoring. You can use this for content monitoring. You can use this for feedback. You can use this for monitoring customer feedback. You can also use this for customer support management, right? These are there's a lot of tons of applications for this case study. So let me switch. Let's do a demo for that. What do we want to do? We want to work with the customer support. So what you observe here is that, just like I said earlier, we are going to classify, tickets from customers into 4 classes. So we have like the finding policy details, the change accounts settings, filing claims and viewing status, canceling coverage, right? So looking at that, we're going to provide different examples for this model. So this is the example for finding policy details. This is an example for finding policy details, right? This is an example for change account settings. This is an example of filing a claims and viewing status. So these are different examples right? Then we're also going to provide inputs. This is more or less like our test case. And mind you, there are different parameters you can change. So what model are we interested in? We're interested in the large model. We are interested in the large model. We are going to provide our input, which is this. We're also going to provide our example, our training example. So let me run this. Python 3 customer support. So this is customer support. So the input, I want to change my password. So I want to change my password is under change account settings. That's where what I want to change my password. That is what is actually under. Does my policy covers prescription medication? So this is under counseling coverage. This is actually under, okay, I want to change my password. This is the percentage. This is the confidence, this is 0.9. The second one, 0.5, 0.8, finding policy details. So this is finding policy details. So you can see that you can provide a training example and your test case, and you get something useful. So think about different situations where you can apply this. Just like I mentioned earlier, you can apply this for feedback monitoring, customer feedback monitoring. You can apply this for monitoring social media content. You can apply this, like there are tons of applications for this instance. So let's move to the next example. Sentimental analysis, still the same thing with sentimental analysis. Still the same thing with sentimental analysis. You're going to provide example, right? Still going to provide example. Do you want positive example, negative example? Still the same stuff. And you're going to get the same thing. Let me just run this. Sentimental analysis. So still the same stuff. Tons of application for this. So let's move to the, okay, apparently that's all. So this is the end of our demo. I hope you guys have learned like a couple of stuff on how to use this API. For me, this is just an eye-opener because under 2 hours, I was able to do a couple of stuff with it. And think about tons of application you can build with this. Think about how you can integrate this into a product for developers. Think about like different applications. You can use this in your company, even as a personal project. So there are a lot you can actually do with this. So that's all for this. So once again, thank everyone. Before I actually stop, before I stop, do we still have time for questions? Just in case you want to ask questions, please, you can ask your questions.
So, George, we actually have we have time until 15 minutes past because Sarah is coming to CMU, so she's going to be 15 minutes late because she's transiting here. That was not planned before, so we can talk for the rest of the time.
Okay. So, do you have any questions?
I think there's a question in chat that says you should kindly explain the first part of the classification code you demoed.
Classification code. Okay. All right. This. So I have two classification code. I have the sentimental analysis and I also have customer support. They're both using, okay, yeah, they're both using the classify API. So just like I mentioned earlier, let me just use this, right? So see this as your normal machine learning process. See this as a normal machine learning process. You have your train set and you have your test sets, right? And for your train sets, you're going to provide examples with labels. This is text for, this is positive text. This is positive review text. This is negative review text. Text. This is neutral text, right? These are different classes. So you provide the examples, you provide the labels. You understand? Now you're going to send the examples to the large language model. The large language model is going to train with that. Also, you're going to send your inputs, what you want to classify, to the large language model. It's going to perform inference on the inputs, right? So you pass your text to the large language model, it does the classification. But mind you, when you pass the text to the large language model, you're also passing the training example and the test case. It trains with the training example, then it performs inference on the test examples. Then it gives you the classes. So going back to the code, this is the train examples. This is the train examples. So this is the text, this is the label, this is the text, this is the label. This is the text, label, text, label, right? This is your test case. What model are you interested in? I'm interested in the large model. What is my input? This is my input. What is the example I'm going to train on? The model is going to train on. The model is going to train on these examples, right? So when you do that, the model will now return classes for the inputs. That's what the model is going to return. The same thing applies to sentimental analysis. The same procedure applies to sentimental analysis. Any other question? I hope I was able to answer your question. By the way. Check the chats.
So there was a
Yes,
question.
yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
There was an earlier question. It says, is it possible to detect or hide that a text or code has been generated by an AI tool such as Cohere or ChatGPT?
Text or hide. Why do you want to hide the text generated? If I may ask, what's the point of hiding it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have assignment, right? And I mean, it's most likely, it's more about the code, you know. Sometimes you have assignment and, you know, you just want to like tell your teacher, oh, you didn't understand anything, and you just used ChatGPT all the way long, and that's how you end up like dealing with your assignment. So I was wondering if I would say I am more worried about if my teacher will know, oh, I was using a ChatGPT like to do my assignment. So I was wondering if there was any, you know, tool that can detect, oh, this code has been generated by ChatGPT, for example, or it could be like, you know, Cohere.
Okay. So basically, you want to know if the code generated is actually from ChatGPT. Right?
Exactly, because I did that, you know,
Okay.
and you know, it's a little bit embarrassing to like just like put this away, show this to my teacher. I mean, I have already completed the assignment, but you know, it was kind of tough, yeah. But I was wondering if my teacher will know, oh, I kind of use ChatGPT, you know.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really have an answer to that. But looking at what you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Looking at the use case. I know that there are like ways to. This has nothing to do with Cohere. This has to do with how to know if a text was generated from ChatGPT. And I read like a couple of, I read a paper about, yes, a tool they use internally to detect if a text was actually generated. It is possible to know if something was actually generated from a large language model. But mind you, the way I see these things, like I think this is actually very important thing to talk about. I see these tools as an enhancer, right? They're supposed to augment the way you do things. It shouldn't just be your ground truth. Just like I gave you an instance of the code summarizer, it hallucinates. So imagine that you don't know that this is actually an hallucinated output. You'll be messed, like it's actually messy, like everything was going to be messed up. So what you want to do is, this is how I will encourage everyone. This actually goes out to like students, right? Try as much as possible to have like the fundamental knowledge of what you want to learn about, right? Let's assume, okay, let me give an instance. A few weeks ago, I was trying to figure out how to use Redis database, right? Then what I did was that I did like a crash course on how to use Redis. Like this has nothing to do with ChatGPT. I just did like a crash course on how to use Redis. Then I was confident, okay, I can use Redis. Now, what do I want to do next? I want to build an API, a Python API that will interact with Redis to do so and so thing. Then I asked ChatGPT, this is what I want to do with Redis. Of course, it generated like a whole lot of stuff. But then I was able to use my basic understanding of Redis to navigate around the code base. So I see it as a tool that will help me, that will enhance my workflow. I don't see it as ground truth, because let's assume I don't have any idea of Redis and I copy and paste that code. I can't debug that code. I can't do anything with it. So this is like a, shall I say, it's like a warning, right? See these tools as a means to enhance what you want to, enhance your knowledge. Don't see them as ground truths. Yeah.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. But I mean, when you are like, you start coding, it's like sometimes a little bit difficult because they give you like some crazy assignment here. So yeah, so
it happens. All right. So any other question? Any other question? Yeah, I'm going.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to share the code.
I already shared that, George. Thank you so much. There's another question in chat that says that apart from detecting the languages, can Cohere also do translations? For example, for what you showed, it would detect the language and translate the language to English.
Maybe to the translation. You know what? Let's just find out. Let's check. We have examples. Okay. We don't have anything on translation. Hopefully in the future it's going to support translation, but we don't have anything on translation for now. Any other question?
So I have a question for everyone. What kind of applications are you thinking about? You don't have to give everything out, like we are competing here. Just just wondering, like, how are you thinking about you can talk about maybe the domain or like your targeting. Are there any challenges you've been facing so far? And we also saw from George's demo that you can max out your API token. So if you have 5 people on your team, just change the API. This is not ideal.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so it looks like some of, depending on the use case, some of the APIs, like you could only interact with them like 5 query per minute for some, and for some it's like maximum of 100. So we'll try to see if we can speed things up, but if not, like just let us know if all of your teammates have exhausted the call, then we'll have to do something about it. So there is a question, or maybe just a comment. Can you, in theory, use generation to translate? Asking the generate model to do translation. Let's try that demo. Isn't that interesting?
Let's use the dice to be on the safe side. Okay, what do we want to do? Playgrounds. Can I tell the what was the question again? What's the question, please?
I think you can just write something in English and tell it to translate it to maybe Yoruba or something like that.
I'm not really idea of critical. It's like any generate intent of fire data set. Like in the right one that is right 1 million or First, it looks like good morning Spanish, I believe. Let's see.
So why don't we use the language that we can understand? Why don't you say you should translate it to Igbo? Which one is why you do Spanish? Just tell it to do it in Yoruba or Igbo or something that we can all read.
Okay.
Or like any African language.
All right, so let's switch to Yoruba. All right, let's see. Is that what is this? Is that Yoruba? I doubt.
Absolutely not. I have no idea. Oh my
Okay,
God.
let's try Japanese. Okay. My beads. Let's copy and paste. You can't go wrong.
No, we need to do it.
You know what? Let's try Hausa.
Isn't that weird? Like George is using another translator to verify. I don't know. Why don't you try Igbo? You can read it, right?
I doubt.
You don't know. Try Igbo. I mean, this is the whole point, right?
I think also it's not a bad option. Just try it.
I've actually checked.
What is it?
Apparently, this is Igbo. Looks like.
Does it say wait?
You know what?
Does it say good morning, everybody?
Let me not embarrass myself. Let me just translate to Igbo.
George, we send you back to village. You cannot read Igbo.
Please, let's not do that.
Oh my God. Okay, we can try a house. We have some house. We have some people from.
Okay.
And we can try Kuriwawanda. Is that how you say it? It does not have support for that. Okay. Let's try Amharic after house. We have people that knows what it says. So our Hausa peeps, what is it? Anyone? Mubarak, is it correct?
Well, actually, this is not correct.
It's correct. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Is it even Hausa? Which other language should we give a try? You know what? I think
Try
check some.
Amharic, please. Try Amharic.
Amharic, can you spell please?
AMHARIC.
AMHMRIC, right?
Yes. No, Amharic. AMHA. No. AMHA. Amharic. There's no M.
Like this, right?
Yes.
You got correction. But I can't tell. I don't speak that. Does it look
So is
familiar?
it correct? No, my Ethiopian queens here said no.
All right.
It's
we need
complete butchering.
we need to have it in the back of our mind that there are like over 100 supported languages, I believe. Language, what's this again? Text. Yeah. Text, right? So mind you, this is actually, we don't have a translation API. We have a text detection API. Let's not mix these two things together. We have detection, not translation. So apparently it can translate, but we don't have a specific API for translation. Please, let's be guided. Yeah. Any other question besides translation and detection? Any other question? Hello, I can't hear you.
Are you speaking? It's not.
Any question? Any other question? Okay.
No.
Suggestion. I think we can call it
Can you do semantic
semantic
search?
Semantic search. Yeah, I think you can do that. No, I believe there's semantic search. You can do that. Yeah, semantic search. Semantic search. Mind you, you can do semantic search here. There's an API for semantic search. Yeah. And just in case you want to look into this, there are a couple of things you can actually do. I think on the README, I left. Yeah, on the README, I left a couple of links, right? There's the Cohere Python SDK, which is actually one of the best resources out there. We actually updated it like a few days ago. Everything you need to know about interacting with the API, setting it up. This is the go-to material for that. Also, there's Cohere's Jupyter notebook. Interesting stuff. You can learn a lot of stuff like multilingual, topic modeling. You can all do that using this notebook. Then show that thing again. Oh, finally, then you have my slide. So in all, that's all I have for today's session. I hope you guys have learned one or two. Mind you,